Hello, my friends. Greetings and salutations. Do you like my new living room and my new piano that I can put my arms through? Do you like it? Good to see everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Throw your name in the chat if you haven't already. Say hello. Hello, friends. We have Olivia and Carly and Rhonda and Deirdre and Gretchy. We got a bunch of peeps here. I'm excited to see you guys. This is such a juicy topic. Fancy, right? Super fancy. Here in my living room, my sunken living room with my, what is this? I can't point correctly. It doesn't let me. With my stone wall and my piano. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Good to see you, Cindy. All right. So, self-love, what the hell is going on? What is going on? What is actually the fuck going on with self-love? Let's fucking talk about it. So, the reason I chose this silly background today is because I'm like, this is a very, for me, this is a very self-loving background. You know, as I've grown in my own self-love, I've chosen beautifuler and beautifuler surroundings to live in. And I've embraced liking having a nice car. I've owned that I like having money around me so that my body can feel good. I wear clothes that make my body feel good. So environments like this one, this is for me like a perfect, I love how your hands disappeared to the silliness of this. This is a self-love themed background for today. So the way I framed it, let's just read how I wrote it. Self-love, what is it? How do we do it? Why is it so elusive sometimes? And how do we make it more accessible? You know, I am struggling to put words around how personal this issue is to me personally. This is, I have so much to say on this topic, and I have such feeling about saying it. And I care so much about what people go through on this topic because I myself have had to learn from the ground up what the hell this was. When I was like starting my healing path in my early 20s, and I mean, constantly in recovery contexts and therapeutic contexts and workshops I would go to and healing retreats and everywhere, they'd be like, you know, you just need to love yourself more. Just why don't you love yourself? Oh, so you don't love yourself. Oh, like all this patronizing bullshit. Or people would just dismissively say like, yeah, just practice self-love. And I'd be like, bitch, if I knew how to love myself, I would be doing it already. 900 people have told me to love myself. If I fucking could, I would have. So I was cranky about it, clearly. But also, what was important was that it was very helpful for me to discover, holy shit, I don't even know what the hell that is. I was watching the people around me. Someone would say like, honey, like to somebody else, like an older woman would put their arm around a young person and standing near me and say to that young person, honey, just what if you just loved that about yourself? And that young person would go like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. You're right. And they'd be crying and they'd have a big breakthrough. And then they'd be like, I'm going to love that I eat Cheetos at night. I love myself. And they could just like choose to love themselves. Whereas for me, I literally didn't have access to it. There was no love in my nervous system. I had no access to self-love. If I knew how to fucking self-love, I wouldn't be sitting in this workshop, was my point of view. So I asked a lot of people this was another point of frustration for me personally, is I've asked a lot of people what the hell self-love is and what it means to them. And people would either say like, you know, you just like love yourself. You're just like, oh, I love that. They'd like have some flippant thing to say that indicated to me they had always had it organically, so much so that they didn't know how to describe it. You know, oftentimes when you have not had a thing and then you get that thing, you have more words to say about what that thing is because you have something to compare it against. So over time, I came to have compassion for the fact that people who can't really describe it, it's often because they've had it forever. So it's like if I said to you, what's it like having hair on your head? You'd be like, it's hair-like. It's warm. It's like straw, but nicer. Like, how would you describe to an alien who doesn't know what having hair on their head feels like, how that feels? It's hard to describe. It's just a given to you. What does it feel like to have skin on your face? Uh, I guess my brain and eyes don't fall out of my skull. I don't know. It's just there. It feels like skin. So people who have self-love and who were parented in a way that imprinted into them that they get to have self-love and have practiced at it, they oftentimes have no idea how to describe what it is. Other people would say, when I would ask them what it was or how it felt or how do you get it, they would say, you just have to tell yourself positive things, right? There was a lot of coaching, like just frame it differently in your head, which comes back to a topic I talk about a lot, I'm aware, which is you can't really think your way into healing. Yes, you can positively reframe things, and it can be very important to positively reframe things so you can get out of bed and go do the basic shit you got to do. I positively reframed a bunch of shit this morning, just like, okay, I'm going to drink water. I don't feel like it, but body needs water. It's water, healthy, drinking it, fine. But when we're talking about something as deep and serious as self-love, how do I love myself? I didn't know what love was, nor let alone how to direct it toward myself, because really, who the hell was myself? Which part of myself? How does one part love another part? Which is the central part? What is the truth? Who is the watcher? Who is the doer? So many questions I had around this love yourself idea. Having done now so many damn hours and years of healing work, I can honestly say I know how to bring love to any part of myself. I know how to choose to stop judging, and I know how to take every part of myself as a part of myself. So these are kind of the components of self-love, and we're going to talk about them, each of them. I really like Teal Swan's definition of love. I like the way she describes it. I've heard a lot of people talk about love, and people get kind of complicated about it sometimes. And there's all different kinds of love, right? There's agape love and filial love and familial love and romantic love and the love you have for your pets. Like which one of those am I supposed to direct toward myself, you might say, if you're trying to learn how to self-love, right? So, my point being, people can make it even more complicated than it already can feel for some of us. So Teal Swan says to love something or someone is to take them as a part of yourself. It's to consider someone else's experience to the same degree of attention and care that you would consider your own experience. So if I love you, I am taking you as a part of me, and I am choosing to treat you in a way that I would treat me if you were me. So in that definition, there is a subtle implication that is not stated. Okay, the implication is you know how to love yourself, right? Because if I say to love you is to take you as a part of me, I have to have a me, first of all, and I have to know how to take you into me, and then I have to know how to care for me so that I know how to care for you. So what the hell is me and what the hell is care? And how do I care for me? Okay. So if we're going with the definition that says to love a thing or a person is to take them as a part of yourself and care for them the way you would care for yourself, we have to understand that there are parts of you that have been exiled away from you. There is, believe it or not, whether you're in touch with this yet or not on your journey, there is a central you. There is a true soul that exists, and it's you. There are body mechanics that are you. You can explore them in your human design. When you get your reading with Katie Rubin, it's a great time. Or when you get your astrology read by Ben Ismail, who's here today, he can pop in the chat, and you can message him, and he'll look at your goddamn astrology with you. You can learn about the mechanics of your body, mind, and your personality, and about how the soul operates. But what I want to say today is who the you is that is going to love yourself is the witnessing eye. it's the part of you that is watching all the other parts go through what they're going through, feel what they're feeling, see what they're seeing, react how they're reacting. The part of you that is witnessing everything else inside of you going on, that is the you I'm going to refer to as you. That is your central, true, higher self. Okay. It's always possible to be in touch with yourself in the sense that you can just say, okay, hold on. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to breathe into my belly. And I'm going to watch what goes on inside of me, as if what goes on inside of me is not me, but as if that which is watching is me. And that which goes on inside of me is phenomena, you could say, or occurrences. So, for example, if I just watch what's going on inside of me right now, my belly's a little full because I drank a cup of coffee fast. I got a little tension in the shoulders. My mind is at peace and relaxed. I got a little tightness in this left calf from working out earlier. I'm happy to be here with you in my heart. These are things that are going on in my body, mind, and being that the witnessing eye of me is naming. So we want to get practiced at the witnessing eye of you, loving the things that are going on inside of you. This is the beginning step of self-love. Now, why do we not love automatically the things going on inside of us? Let's take a concrete example. Let's say, I don't know, you're triggered by somebody in your life. Every time you see, I'm wanting to say a specific name. I'm not going to do that. Psychically, you can hear the joke I'm making into your head. Every time you see, one of you here, every time you see a certain person, we'll call this person Frank. Every time you see Frank, you are really agitated and you think to yourself, what a fucking asshole that Frank is. Now, your reaction, because you've done a lot of spiritual work and you're very conscious and you've been to the 12 steps or you've done some therapy or whatever reason, you've said to yourself, I shouldn't hate people, but I hate Frank, but I shouldn't hate people. Hating is wrong and bad. So what you do is you make the part of you who hates Frank wrong and bad, and you exile her, meaning you go, nope, and you push her down and you pop up into your positivity head and you go, okay, Frank is doing the best he can with the tools he has. And I forgive Frank on his journey. And I'm going to positively reframe my actual shitty feelings for Frank. What you have just done when you tell yourself you shouldn't hate Frank is you have anti-loved yourself. You have exiled a part of yourself. You have pushed a part of yourself down or away. You have repressed a part of yourself. Anything we shove into the shadow consciousness, aka push down and pretend isn't there, is an example of how we are not loving ourselves. Okay, another example of how we don't love ourselves and why we don't just organically love ourselves. Let's say you're 6 years old and your mom criticizes the way your hair and your body look every single morning. You never look good enough. You never do it right enough. Everything out of her mouth is a criticism of you. You learn to believe as a 6-year-old child that everything about you on the outside and the inside is wrong. So you internalize your mom's voice because that's what all children do. It's how children are actually built and meant to function that way. Mom and dad are God when you're a child. Excuse me. At least after you've embodied. We look to them that way. Unless we come in very, very awake, which some kids do. That's a different conversation. All children, either way, look up to their parents as the arbiters and the definers of what inside of me, little young Katie me, is worthy of love. So when mom says you're chubby and you put your elbows on the table and that's bad and your hair looks wrong and you're saying inappropriate stuff to adults and this is wrong and that's wrong and this is wrong and that's wrong. You're wearing the wrong outfit. Your bra strap is showing. You're behaving slutty. Whatever your particular flavor of your mom's criticisms might have been. You internalize that and begin to judge those parts of yourself in the same way she did. Or if you are a rebellious sort, like some of us are, you resist your mother's judgments and create new ones. In resisting, let's say your mom says your hair always looks messy. and you say, fuck her, my hair is perfect. So now your hair is right and your mom is wrong. And you've created polarity and separation inside yourself using the tool of judgment that your mom taught you how to use. Anywhere we use judgment against ourselves is a place we are not loving ourselves. So let's use this silly example I made up, because I always watch myself fix my hair on these videos, and she didn't tell me I had messy hair. It's just a weird neurotic thing I do. But let's say she did, and let's say I believed my hair is always terrible. So fuck her. I'm going to say my hair is always great. Now I've got separation inside myself. Secretly behind my rebellion, I believe her that my hair is always wrong. There's no reason to create a dichotomy if you don't believe the first side of that polarity. So if my mother judgmentally said to me every morning, your hair is terrible, and I was like, actually, it's not. I think you're a little crazy. That would be a healthy sense of self. And that would be an example of me loving myself. But if I have to go, fuck you, no, it isn't, then I am creating a polarity and a separation inside myself because I'm a little convinced she's probably right. I have internalized, in other words, her judgment of me. Any judgment we internalize is separation between that witnessing I and the rest of you. Anywhere you have separation between the witnessing I and the rest of you is where you are not loving yourself. Why? Because loving yourself is taking all parts of you as a part of you, rather than exiling those parts of you or pushing them away. So this starts to get really deep when you start to work with it, because if you think about, let's go back to our example of every time you see Frank, you hate Frank and you're like, fuck Frank. You don't like that you feel fuck Frank. So you go, no, I don't feel fuck Frank. I'm not feeling that. I'm just going to acknowledge positive stuff, which is being in total denial of reality and pushing a feeling a part of you is having into the shadows, the background, the unconscious. If instead, this is the exciting part, you guys, what you were to do is say, you know what? I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to own. Oops, I just went into slow motion. Let me make sure. Am I working here? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Leslie? Yeah, okay, it seems to be back. Okay, great. If instead I were to own my feelings of hatred toward Frank, and if I were to if I were to close my eyes and go, where is the hate? Okay, it's right here in my heart. It feels like a burning fire. Fuck you, Frank. Fuck you, Frank. Burning fire. Fuck you, Frank. And let the feeling have its full expression. It would eventually move through my system and release itself. And then I would have a realization or discover the information that the feeling about Frank is trying to give me. Allow me to say that a different way. Every feeling you have is your consciousness trying to give you some information about something that is happening inside of you or outside of you. So if you hate Frank, your conscious awareness is trying to show you something about you and Frank, or you and you, or you and the past. But you will never know what your hatred of Frank is trying to show you if you don't feel it. And what is feeling your hatred of Frank? That is called loving yourself. Meaning, any feeling that comes up for you, any part of self that exists inside of you needs your conscious attention put on it. It needs you to pay attention to it. It needs you to connect with it. It needs you to take it as a part of you, rather than exiling it and making it wrong. So how do you take an exiled part and make it a part of you? How do you love a part of you that you haven't been loving? You have to feel what it's feeling and let it say what it wants to say. Now, this doesn't mean you go to fucking Frank and say, hey, Frank, you're an asshole. Fuck you anyway. It means you have to process those feelings you're having somewhere with someone safe. So there's room for those feelings to exist, or you do it on your own. but that's only if you are a safe person to work with. Yeah. And Christina says, there you go again, asking me to pay attention to my needs. Correct. I'll be doing that forever until you're dead, until you get it, and feel my feelings. Ugh. Yeah, I get it. You will only say ugh about feeling your feelings until you finally start practicing feeling them as they come up, and you finally start to get the relief that is on the other side of that. I'll give you an example. I have a very young part of me, my 6-month-old self, that I work with as to integrate her. She's constantly, like, parts of her are constantly being reintegrated into my adult self because my 6-month-old self was very badly injured by a bad man. So today I was at the park this morning and I got aware that my 6-month-old self, who I feel down in my very low belly, really like needed me to pay attention to her. Now, because she's 6 months old, she doesn't speak in words like advanced adult words. She speaks in feelings. So I sit down on this park bench and Squeezel is there like running around in the grass. We were having a nice morning. And all of a sudden I was just sad. That 6-month-old self was sad. So I was like, okay, I'm like all morning resisting the sad. I'm like drinking coffee on top of the sad. I'm not sad. And then I'm like, okay, resistance doesn't work. What's going on here? Who needs to talk inside of me? Oh, 6-month-old me. So I just took a breath into her and said, like, what do you need to say, babe? I'm willing to feel whatever you need to feel. Boom, she was crying. Tears came out of my eye holes. There was a sensation of like a part of me that was like pushed way back into my spine, coming forward into my midline. I felt very full in my belly, and then the tears ended. And then I was like, oh, there I am. I feel whole again. That's it. That's self-love. Self-love is anytime you judge yourself, you look in the mirror and you go, oh, I've gotten so much older and I look like this and I got these 11s between my eyes, you know, the 11s of this one 11. Or you go like, oh, my arms are so ugly, or, oh, you know, I don't know, the way my voice sounds on the phone, whatever your random freaking judgment is for you. Instead of believing that that judgment is truth, you want to choose to stop judging that thing. You want to choose to say, I take these 11s as part of myself. I choose to take them as part of me rather than wishing they would be not part of me. Now, as anybody listening to the words I'm saying knows, as any of you guys know, when you try to take something about yourself as a part of yourself, but you hate that thing, you can't take it as a part of yourself because you're like, fuck those 11s. I hate them. I can't take them I'm in full resistance to the 11s. I will not take them as a part of myself. You even say to yourself, if I take them as a part of myself, then I have to admit that they're real. Then I'm in real trouble. What actually starts to happen, however, is if you were to sit with your resistance to your 11s, I'm just using that as an example, obviously, sit with it, find it in your body. Where do I hate my 11s? Oh, it's right in my brainstem. Okay, so I'm going to sit with that feeling. My channel starts to blow open. This is just how it works for me. You're going to be different because we're all different individuals. And then all of a sudden I feel back to peace and back to wholeness. I noticed, you guys, nothing I just did in that process was a mental process. I didn't have a mental idea about forgiving my 11s. I didn't have to journal about my 11s. All I had to do was feel in my body where the energy of judgment against my 11s was sitting. Then I have to sit into the middle of that judgment energy until it changes. Any energy you are willing to face and feel and sit with as an energy feeling in your body will change 100% of the time. There is a simple but not always easy solution to your self-hate and your self-criticism, which is find where the energy of your self-hate and self-criticism live in your nervous system, your heart, your belly. Stop thinking you're crazy for thinking of things energetically. Feel into the energy of it and let it shift. So The reason we find it hard to love ourselves, right? Part of what I wrote in the topic for today, what is self-love? How do we do it? Why is it so elusive? And how do we make it more accessible? It's so elusive because what we are taught in this culture is, I mean, particularly in American capitalist culture, is put yourself aside. All parts of you, put them to fucking sleep and get busy making money or climbing a ladder or gaining more status or being more important or being more visible or whatever the fuck it is that you're competing to prove you have value for. In America, you're told work more, make more money, impress more people, and then you'll have value. Then you work harder, you impress all the people, you get money, you get status, and you still feel invaluable. What the fuck happened? Why is it that when you get the things you think would make you love yourself, you still fucking don't? The answer is because on your way up that status ladder, you had to push all parts of you aside to ignore them and not feel your feelings so you could get where you were going. At least that was the bill of goods you got sold. The bill of goods I'm offering for you to purchase for no cost at all, it's actually totally free, is that instead of racing to the top of some competition ladder and winning some battle that nobody gives a shit if you're fucking in the first place. You know why? Because everybody else is so self-involved. They don't give a fuck what you do. Instead of pushing parts of yourself aside to get to a place, what if you were to bring all parts of you into the center of you right now? What if as you walked towards what you're pursuing and what you want to accomplish, which I'm not telling you to not pursue things, I'm saying head towards what you desire. But what if while you head towards what you desire, you do it slow enough that you can feel the feelings that come up so that you can process those feelings and be free of them so that the next 5 steps you take on the ladder are easier on you because you will have integrated a part of yourself that old you would have exiled. Do you know how much easier life is when you practice self-love? Do you know how much easier life is when you take all parts of yourself as a part of yourself rather than exile them and send them to the background? Your life starts to become very whole, very full, very real, very authentic, very true, very self-loving. Self-love does not look, you guys, like getting another massage, getting your nails done, getting your hair done. It doesn't look like fixing the outsides. Although I will say fixing the outsides sometime is the thing that your insides are asking for, in which case do those things. In other words, if a part of you says, I feel better when I look cuter, listen to that part. Take that part as a part of you and look cuter. Not because if you don't, you have no worth and value, but because when you do, you feel more self-love. Why? Because you've taken that part of you as a part of you, not because it's about what other people see. So, in summation, in conclusion, any part of you that you refuse to feel, any feeling you refuse to feel, any need, Christina, thank you for the reminder, you refuse to have, becomes an energy that you push to the side or push to the bottom or push to the back, which then increases your self-hate or self-criticism or insecurity, which then lowers your self-esteem. And then you go, why can't I love myself? And the answer is you've been pushing all these little parts that you're in judgment of away. If you just brought them back into the equation, you would start to feel a lot more self-respect because you'd be practicing a lot more self-love. Self-love is a practice. It's an action. It's a behavior. It's not a woo-woo abstraction feeling. You don't sit in a field and like have a beautiful picnic basket and go, I love myself and I feel so much love. Maybe you can do that. If you do that, great. And it works, do that. But if you leave that field and get home and you still sort of hate yourself, you can be assured there's a part of you that has been pushed back into the corner that you are not taking up. I had a therapist once who used to say, we have to take that part up, Katie. We have to take it up. And what she meant was like, admit that it's there, deal with it, feel what it's feeling, let it say what it has to say, and don't be so busy doing other shit that we ignore that part. I didn't like it at first when she said this to me because I didn't want to feel the icky feelings in my body. This is why all addictions exist, because we don't want to feel the icky feelings in our body. Or we know that once we feel the feelings in our body, we're going to have to take different actions in our life. Some part of you knows that if you were to feel all your feelings, you might have to quit your job. You might have to break up with your husband. You might have to stay together with your husband, but live in a different house. You might have to send your kid away to sleepaway camp. You might have to be less busy. You might have to rest more. You might have to not see your mom. You might have to visit your aunt. You might have to do all kinds of shit that your ego is afraid to do if you were to feel your feelings, AKA love yourself. So the question comes down to, what is more important? That you people please and live from your conditioned self and make everybody around you comfortable, or that you love yourself? And what if there's a way to love yourself and have relationships? There certainly is, because the universe is not just a horrifying torture chamber. The universe wants us to love ourselves and experience the exchange of love with others. But you may right now, if you're not practicing a lot of self-love, be in relationship with people who can't love themselves either, and therefore y'all can't love each other. So this may not be the person you can do the self-love in the presence of. I don't know. I'm not in your relationship, but you could tell me about it and I could tell you. So questions. Let's take questions, please. I know this is a complicated one and it's a deep one, and I really want to welcome all of you and all your questions and any comments you have. Please throw them in the chat. I know this is a very vulnerable one because it's almost like inherent in asking a question about self-love, you have to reveal the fact that you don't love yourself around a topic. But I want you to feel safe and understand most humans on this earth have no idea how to love themselves. They have no idea what self-love is. They have no idea how to practice it, because who the fuck is teaching them? You know, what the majority of us, we get lucky because we get a great therapist maybe, or one parent or one relative was kind enough to sort of teach us how, or, you know, you're just lucky and blessed when somebody shows up to teach you this kind of shit. But my point being, you don't have to have shame around not knowing how or having a question around it. And if you do have shame around it, feel the shame and know that as you take the shame as a part of yourself and sit, AKA sit with it, it will transmute into something else, but not if you keep exiling it, not if you keep pushing it away. Okay, who has a question? Who could use guidance and direction about this? Who has a specific question they'd like me to ask consciousness for them? Please throw them in the chat. Now is the time. Oops, I accidentally closed the window where you guys are. In the meantime, let's see if Christina, any of her said, yes, made a list of things to cry about today. Good job. And did you cry about them would be my question. It's hard when we are constantly conditioned on how to push it down, look away, medicate it. Of course it's hard. That's why we're here. I know, but you want to be whole and you want to be at peace and you want to be authentically true to yourself. That's why you're listening to the words I say. Nobody who doesn't want those things is going to listen to me for 4 seconds, let alone keep coming back. So because you want those things, a part of you, Christina, is willing to feel those hard feelings, but a lot of parts of you aren't. So you might, if I were you, I would have some conversations with the parts of me that are not willing to feel what the other parts of me want to feel. So you would say to the part that says like, no, I don't want to feel that. You would say to it like, well, what are you feeling right now? And it might say, I'm fucking scared. I don't want to do that. And then you could say to it like, well, what if we did it for like 10 seconds? And it would be like, maybe. So on and so forth. And you can start to have a negotiation with the parts of yourself. No, I tried, but my autopilot made me worry about my physical surroundings, felt the sadness, but didn't get the release. Yeah, I totally get it. Autopilot, great way to frame it. Your autopilot. I would call that your conditioned mind or your ego or your reactive self or your resistance or whatever. So it's great that you're aware of it. Now the task is to put what you're aware of into regular, consistent action. This is how we develop self-love. Do you know that every single day of my life, I process something inside myself? Right now, having moved south, there's a lot of lightning storms every day. And the lightning is triggering some old thing in my nervous system every day where I'm like, ah, ah. And I've gone from being like a 9 out of 10 of terrorized by this lightning to like a 4. And it's miraculous, but it's because I've worked on it every day. I've set time aside. I've sat down. I felt into it. I've asked my body, where am I holding this terror? What is the original terror? I'm calling it up into conscious awareness. I'm crying, I'm feeling, I'm tapping, I'm processing. And now it's gone from a 9 to a 4. And I have a lot of peace, and I still got some work to do because I'm only at a 4. I haven't got to a 0 yet. But I will keep working on it till it's at a fucking 0, until that lightning can fucking crash all at once. And I go, lightning. People often ask me, how will I know when I've loved myself? And I'll be like, you don't feel separate from any part of you, and you're in allowance of and forgiveness of all parts of you. Carly Mara says, am I ready? Where do I start? Well, you tell me, are you ready? And you start with the first thing that comes to mind that you have exiled inside yourself. And also for you, what are those feelings in your belly that you don't want to feel? That ball of, you're like holding around the belly. Like if you were to let go into your belly and drop into there, Carly, what are those feelings? That's where you start. You start by feeling everything you've been unwilling to feel. And you just do it bit by bit every day. And when you ask, am I ready? I get no, but I also get it's a part of you is ready and some other parts are not. Fear and failing again. Okay, got it. So Carly, feel into the fear of failing again. Feel into that in your belly right now. Know that I'm in there with you. And anybody right now listening who has a feeling they haven't been willing to feel, if you start to feel it right now, I am in there with you with this light, helping you feel it. And we're allowing the divine light to help it process through. So you don't have to solve the fear, Carly, or figure out with your mind how to not fail again. You just have to feel the fear until it changes into something else. So while you're feeling it now, Carly, type in the chat when you can. Is it still there? Is it different? Has it changed? What has it changed into? I feel a shift in it already. Tell me a little bit about what's happening with it when you're ready. Meanwhile, Facebook user, it's probably Ray. Hi, Ray, if that's you. Having so much fear lately that has no clear source, just running through my nervous system like lightning. It's been pretty relentless. Okay, I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to it. Carly, excellent job. Sadness. If you haven't heard me say this before, you're clearly not in one of my classes, because this comes up all the time. Under almost every single feeling we have in our bodies that we don't want to feel is sadness. It's 100% of the time. There's grief, sorrow, sadness. Some version of sadness is always under the anger. It's under the fear. It's under the anxiety. It's under the terror. But you can't get to the sadness that's under a thing until you feel the thing. Okay, excellent job, Carly. Great. Very well done. Now, I'd like you to feel into that sadness like you're already doing. Close your eyes for just a second. And just really say, yeah, I feel fucking sad here. I feel sad. I feel where this sadness is. Stay with it while it's happening. Yes, if tears start, let them happen. I'm working with all of you energetically right now. So any feeling that's up for anybody, please feel into it right now. And Facebook user, you can do the same. Find that fear that has no source in your nervous system like lightning and sit with it. Yeah, good. Whew. This is for the Facebook user. I think that's Ray, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to assume. This is a new layer of the old trauma. You've done some really good work, and so you've gotten down to a nervous system layer of this trauma. It's not that it has no clear source. It's that, yes, it's you. Awesome. It's that the source is not cognitive. It's frozen, stuck energy in the nervous system. So the source is the original trauma or traumas. I get that it may be the big one that you and I have talked about in recent months, and combined with some stuff from when you were younger. So what you want to do is drop right into it right now. Yeah, I'm really moving it through with you quickly. And I'm still with you, Carly, in the sadness or whatever the sadness has turned into now. And the rest of you, whatever you're aware of, take this opportunity. I'm bringing a ton of light, which causes this stuff to move through faster. And then Ray, there's a bunch now. We've moved into the brainstem, like a fucking, just like a rod of unprocessed rage and terror and anger and fear in that brainstem. And I'm just moving that with you just by being with it. When you clear this piece, like your eyesight is going to be better. You're going to sleep better at night. You won't have headaches. Like, this is a big one. Ugh. And a certain amount of just abject rage at everything is going to dissipate, a certain amount of it. Yeah, that's really good. A number of you have some stuff that's frozen in the brainstem, so I'm working with it now. If you can bring your conscious attention to the back of your neck and imagine that the ganglia of the brain that sort of lay down into the nervous system of the spinal column, where the brain and the spinal column meet in the back of your neck, just feel into that area. And it's really cool because what I always get to see is this wild stuff where, as we process these emotions, right, they seem so sort of like, I don't know, base or 3D, right? As soon as you process sadness for like Carly and it becomes neglect and it becomes darkness, great job. Go into the darkness now, Carly, you're doing great. What I get to see is all the spiritual and psychic repair that's happening to the double helix DNA strand of your soul. And I get to watch the Kundalini start to rise up your spinal column. And I get to watch your nervous system come online. There is so much magic that is happening, you guys, in each of your nervous systems and your spiritual bodies, just by you feeling your freaking feelings you haven't been willing or able to feel until now. And it's 616, the magic of the sixes. Okay. Stay with the darkness, Carly, and tell me what happens there. And Ray, tell me what's happening for you in the lightning spinal column or brainstem while I start working with Gretchen here. I've been working with acceptance and integration of a long-term trauma response from childhood because I was the one in control of my response and I did it to myself, quote, quote. I know this isn't the truth and I was responding with my capacity at the time. Everything associated with this childhood experience has replayed daily, coloring my existence. I've been writing about this healing journey over the past 8 years, and now that this major root is feeling close to letting go, and I'm terrified. Yeah, I hear you. So all you have to do, good news, Gretchen, is feel into that terror. As you're ready and as you're able and with some safe support. You know, you want to do this with a healer or a therapist sometimes. When it's that scary, sometimes you need somebody else to hold space with you, like I'm doing right now, or like we do in healing class, or like we do in a private session. You know, that's what they're for. But that's all you have to do. That's the good news. As you get close to the major root, the feeling of letting go, you're terrified. Good. Sit with the terror and it will shift. More than likely, as Carly just showed us, into sadness. And then behind the sadness, who knows? Tired, bone tiredness. Excellent, Carly. Excellent. So what I get for you is rest. You're bone tired because your body, Carly, this is such good news. My heart is like singing for you right now. Because your body is so grateful to you that you just processed that piece. Your body is exhausted from holding on to it. And you just did your body a huge favor by finally processing it. So now your body is like, I've been screaming that I'm tired this whole time. But you couldn't hear it because what was louder was the feeling on top of it. So, bone tired, rest, please. Really good. You guys are doing really well. Ray says, sharp exhales, deep sobs. Totally get it. Like all fours grief under the rage again. Yep. The survival fear is big and overwhelming for the first time. This layer feels like death of the physical. I totally get it. That is because, Ray, at the time that the trauma occurred that created this, the threat of death was real. The good news is it's not now. You have to go into the center of the fear of death now, and that is terrifying. You're not wrong. But when you go into it, you're just going to get a huge sigh of relief because the actual threat of death is over. It happened during the moment of the trauma. Yeah, so drop into that survival fear, that death of the physical fear. Stay with it. Yep, I'm right in there with you. I get it. Stay with it. You're doing great. Yeah, really good. Yeah, there's another layer. Go into that. And anyone else who's having anything come up for them, please go into the center of it. Because I'm here with you now, and I'm bringing light to the center of it for all of you right now. Take your moment. The time is now. If you're wondering about a concept, feel into the feeling you're feeling rather than asking about a concept. Feel it in your body. You are all brave and courageous warriors of light, for doing this work. Bravery and courage are required. But remember, in order to be brave, you don't need to have no fear. Bravery is the willingness to face what needs to be faced, even if you feel afraid. And feeling afraid is okay. My pleasure, Gretchen. And I don't mean for any of that to sound like pressure to come to a class or have a session. I just mean it as a way of saying, whatever you need to do to get the holding that you need, sometimes we can just do it here. Sometimes you can do it on your own. Sometimes you can't. There's certain things I can't do on my own, hold myself in. I need relational holding as well. So it just depends on the thing. And whether it's class with me or not is not even the point. The point is you've got to get yourself in a space where you can safely drop in the way Ray is doing right now and the way you just did yourself. Carly, let me know how you're doing. And Ray, let me know what's happening for you now. And I'm going to read what Leslie wrote here. My number one weakness is my low self-esteem and shyness because of my disability. I never posted any photos of me and my crutches. In fact, I seldom post any photos. Should I start posting more photos and sharing about myself? Will it help me overcome my weakness? Absolutely. Okay, let me feel into this. What's more important, beloved, they say, than posting the photos although yes, post the photos, is sharing your emotional truth in the words you say associated with the photos. So in other words, what would be very useful to you would be to post, just like you're posting here. I'm very embarrassed to share this with you all. I never show pictures of myself. I've had so much shame about my disability. I've been afraid to admit who I am. I feel shy all the time because I'm constantly trying to hide who I am. So I'm showing you these pictures now in a very vulnerable state, and I'm doing so to develop my own strength. I'm doing so to develop my courage. Thank you for seeing me and hearing me. Only supportive comments welcome. Something like that. Because you have to understand, the posting of the photos is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is, oops, I hope I'm not frozen. It's being very weird, the Wi-Fi. Leslie, can you let me know if you can hear me? Ay. Things are being weird. Yes, you can. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much. Maybe it only seems slow to me. So the posting of the pictures is not the solution to the problem. It's the facing of the shame. It's the feeling into the shame. The facing and the feeling of the shame and the embarrassment. And as you face it and feel it, Leslie, it'll start to dissipate out of your system. And as you post the photos and admit to people that you feel embarrassment and shame about it, the right people will post positive comments back. The challenge you run into with posting, of course, is you're posting to the whole world. So there's assholes in the world. And some assholes may say some shitty things to you. So if you're going to choose to post photos and vulnerable words about your photos, just be forewarned. It's good to set a boundary and say, like, only positive comments welcome, please. Or only supportive comments, please. I'm very vulnerable around this. Then you'll get less assholes. My prayer for you is that you get no assholes responding to you. But my coaching is, if assholes respond, do not read it, do not believe it, delete it immediately as if it's a big fat fucking lie, because that's what it is. So in terms of posting, you always run the risk of having people say judgmental, shitty things to you. So just be aware of that. But the main work is face inside your body the feelings of embarrassment and shame, and watch them start to shift and move out of your system. Let me know if that makes sense. And if you have any follow-up questions on that, you can do it now if you want. Totally hear you, Ray. Very raw, no skin on. Totally get it. Okay, let me see. Okay. All right. That's good. The very raw, no skin feeling I'm really familiar with. That is, okay, a place where you just want to be very kind to the raw, skinless part of you. And even if it feels like literally every part of you is very raw and skinless, be very kind and very loving to that part. Think of it this way. You had a wound. Somebody wounded you at some point. And let's say metaphorically, the wound was a stab. So they stabbed you in the heart. What we just did was we cleared all the energy that was. So if this was where the stab impact hit your heart, and here's your heart, everything around your heart now was reverberating with the lightning of the effects of the stab. So we cleared the lightning effects, which were a secondary effect of the original wound. And now you're sitting there with your consciousness right in the center of the wound. So when you think about if you had been stabbed and now you had cleaned out the dirt and you got the scabs off and you got the trees and the leaves out of there and the dirt, now you just have an open wound. What do you have to do with an open wound? You tend to it. You get a bunch of Neosporin in there and you like put a Band-Aid over it and you protect it so that it can heal back up. So in the next day or two, I want you to treat yourself like a little self who needs a lot of Band-Aid around her. Wear a comfy sweater. Don't do a lot of intense shit out in the world. Maybe cocoon a little bit. Be nice to yourself, because that wound will seal up. Give it 2 or 3 days and you won't feel so raw anymore. Now, I know that could feel like a really long time, but think of it this way. You just did such a huge piece of healing that 2 or 3 days is worth it for you to have that sewn up wound for the rest of your life. At least that's how I've gotten myself through those moments where I'm incredibly raw and feel like I have no skin. Be kind and loving to the wound. Take the wound as a part of yourself. Take the rawness as a part of yourself. Don't exile it. Don't judge it. Don't push it away. Okay, good. I totally hear that, Leslie, that it makes sense, but you need the courage to do it, for you've been hiding it for a long time. Absolutely. Well, before you go posting, spend some time feeling it on your own before you go posting anything, because you want to feel a little stronger about it before you go putting it out to the world that has some assholes in it. Be with it inside yourself before you go posting. That would be what I would recommend. All right, Jamie says, I feel a lot of my sadness, feelings of all sorts. It's really my pleasure, Ray. I love you very much. No pinpointed event. It has to be from childhood. It's pure emotion, and I see it as a ball of live wires. Really good. I stay away from it, but I'm trying now to touch some of it. Girl, that is the way through. That's it. You did it. I saw you do it last night. What was that, last night? Yeah, Tuesday night in class. That's what you were doing. And that is what is required. That touching into it, touching some of it, as you said, will eventually turn it into not a ball of live wires. It will process out and it will become freedom and space and wholeness and peace. But literally the only way out is through. So we have to go into the ball of live wires. And it's pretty great that it's pure emotion and you don't know what it's attached to, because then you don't have to analyze it. You don't have to figure it out. All you have to do is feel it. You just be with it, feel it. Luckily, you're in class right now, which is rad, because we're going to transmit all this freaking light at it. That, frankly, here's a secret. When you start transmitting light into your wounds and into your stuck emotional energy, the light keeps working you for many days after the healing session. So you'll find yourself very weepy, just like at the Starbucks, or you're at your bakery and you're just crying for like, quote, quote, no reason. But it's not actually no reason. It's the light is eking out bit by bit those live wires. So that's kind of the cool part about working with divine light, is it works you for like weeks after it's transmitted. And we're doing a lot of it in class. So you're going to get a lot of work, which is great. I'm proud of you. That's really cool. And I always want to say, when I say to people, I feel proud of you, it's like, I'm not saying that from some, like, sometimes the word proud can feel like, I don't know what like judgy or superior or something. It's not. It's more like I so identify with how difficult it is to really dive into these things that I'm just proud of all of us, myself included, who can, when we face anything terrifying inside of ourselves, it's a fucking brave, goddamn courageous thing to do. So I'm proud of us. Really good work, you guys. Thank you too, Leslie. My pleasure. So to wrap up for today, because we are at time, the most self-loving thing you can do, and the way to build more self-love, is take every piece of feeling you haven't wanted to feel as a part of yourself. Feel it, drop into the center of it, and watch it evolve and process and change. And then you will have wholeness and peace and self-love. But the degree to which you exile feelings, thoughts, needs, and parts of yourself is the degree to which you have self-criticism, self-judgment, and self-harm. So together we travel down the road of learning how to love ourselves and learning to have a metaphoric, lovely living room and lovely piano surrounding our wounded little hearts. I love you guys so much. And when you're ready, I'm always here to do private sessions. Join us for class, whatever you're up for. And if not, we'll be here every Wednesday to do exactly this. So thank you, Carly. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for being here. You give me an opportunity to be who and what I am in this world when you guys are here. So this is a gift to me as well. You know, the way my system works, when I'm in the presence of other human beings, it's like I am so attuned energetically to what is happening for people that I need to either like move the energy, like heal them, like it has to start being a healing, or I'm doing a lot of work to, like, the boundaries around my field have to like keep your pain out, because the field just wants to process. So when I get to do this with you guys, it's a relief for my field because I get to just do what I'm organically doing. My field is just organically doing this. And some of that is boundary stuff with me that I work on with myself. So don't feel bad about it. It's my own boundaries. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care.